Hello, on The Truth today we're talking about the disturbances in Ferguson.
Thanks, Dan Winnes and Bill O'Reilly. In the Factor Follow-Up segment tonight, protests are continuing in a St. Louis suburb.
4 days ago, a teenager called Michael Brown was shot there by the police, an unarmed teenager. Since then there's been disturbances. Ferguson is a town with or a city or municipality with a primarily black population and a primarily white police force and system for government. There's been a great deal of unrest, comparable in some ways to the unrest that occurred in our country, England, when last year, or was it the year before, Mark Duggan was shot by the police. So let's have a look and see what the story is behind that story on The Truth today.
The death of the 18-year-old is now being investigated by local, state, and federal authorities. But that has not stopped rioting and looting in the area.
I like that immediate implication that we're investigating it, for Christ's sake. We'll stop protesting and looting. You shot Michael Brown. We're investigating. What's the alternative to investigating it? The police have shot an unarmed teenager. Ah, well, the situation speaks for itself, doesn't it? It was a teenager, he was unarmed, we shot him. There's simply no room for further inquiry. The inquiry itself isn't going to be sufficient, particularly as it was only a couple of years ago that in Florida, that other black teenager got shot by a white person and then the guy didn't even go to prison. It's obviously a lot of social unrest that's reaching the surface. This isn't just about that issue, it's obviously become an emblem. See what else Bill's got to say.
More than 40 people have been arrested, and the situation remains very tense tonight in the town of Ferguson. Joining us now from Florida, Dr. Ben Carson, a Fox News analyst. So, obviously...
Obviously, you're black. So we've got that covered. He's been dragged out, this fella, to ratify Fox's, what I'm going to assume is a prejudicial view.
We have to wait and see how the system handles the situation. You would agree with that, the justice system?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. You have a black Attorney General, Eric Holder, who I have, in this case, 100% confidence in.
Do you think Bill meant to go, in this case, I've got 100% confidence in? I mean, I wouldn't normally trust a black Attorney General. I wouldn't trust him with my car keys. I wouldn't let him feed my fish. I don't like black people. Oh, sorry! I mean, Bill's racism comes bubbling out all the time. He's such a loony.
That he will direct the FBI to find out all the facts of the case and to make sure the local authorities in Missouri prosecute it if that's what the facts dictate. Would you agree with that?
Well, I certainly think he has an interest in bringing this case to justice.
So you do have confidence, as I do, that in this case the Attorney General will use the power of his office to get all the facts out?
I believe that to be the case, yes.
Okay, so we've established those two things.
You're not establishing anything. That's just two people's opinion. My opinion is that this Attorney General's going to do a good investigation. What's your opinion? Yeah, I think that too. Right, well that's a fact. That's not a fact, that's just two people have said a thing. A platform has been built upon which now to place further data.
Then, how do we process people coming into the town of Ferguson and looting, burning, disrupting, all in the name of justice? How do we process that?
It's almost, Bill, like you're living in a really unequal, unfair society that hasn't recovered from the massive wounds of slavery and the continuing inequality and subjugation of the non-white population. And eventually, inevitably, there will be flare-ups. Sometimes in communities defined by their ethnicity or colour, and other times in communities defined by their economic status as poor people. And in many cases, there will be a huge crossover, as in this case. And there's going to be a lot more of this happening as society becomes more and more unequal. Indeed, we're seeing measures across the world, from London, where water cannons are being purchased, to all across America, where the authorities are preparing for much more disturbance, where the two options are, shall we have a more equal society, or shall we fortify and bolster our means for oppressing people?
Well, unfortunately, I think these people perhaps have not studied history.
I think perhaps these people have not studied history. It's almost like they've got other stuff on their mind. Tear gas canisters come through the window? Never mind that. Who was Henry VIII's second wife?
The reason that Dr. Martin Luther King was so effective is because he quelled the temptation toward violence.
Yeah, Martin Luther King. I wonder what happened to that guy. He was shot, wasn't he? He was shot and killed in circumstances that some believe were suspicious. And you can bet that if Fox News was around at the time of Martin Luther King, they wouldn't be like, this guy's a voice for justice. They'd have been saying, oh, he's a rabble-rouser, he's causing problems, he doesn't like the status quo, what are these people doing on their million-man marches? Oh, they should be grateful, we've given this kind of stuff. It's all right now.
And in fact brought a lot of attention to the injustices that were being done. If in case an injustice has been done in this case, and we don't know the answer to that, we've got to let the process take place.
Look at the emphasis on the if it comes back as an injustice. Under what circumstances is it going to be acceptable that an unarmed black teenager was shot by the police authorities?
But if it has, by rioting, the people engaged in that are actually detracting from the actual injustice that was done. So they're not helping.
Of course, you know, if you believe in non-violence and I believe in non-violence, then yeah, you've got to absolutely believe in that protest should be non-violent. But in the face of that kind of provocation, you can understand it whilst not endorsing it. And see, what the problem is that the justice always comes at the end of the line. It's only with look at these people smashing up a shop. You've got to go, well, why are the people smashing up a shop? Well, most immediately, there's been an unarmed black teenager murdered. Oh yeah, but that's just an extreme example and it's in isolation. No. It's part of a much broader historical and cultural narrative where poor people and disempowered people are exploited and oppressed the world over. So now how do you feel about a few shops getting smashed up? Inevitable.
There are other people like Al Sharpton who have come to Missouri demanding this and that, agitating the situation.
If the situation is injustice, then agitation is what's required. What B.Y. Wright is saying is just let things be how they are. Leave it as it is. Things are fine. I'm okay. I've got a show. Fox is making record profits. Things are fine. And the only where he wants to focus is build a wall, prevent immigrants getting in. Poor people shouldn't be on benefits. Look at where all of his energy is focused, on protecting the status quo. Al Sharpton, who I don't know a great deal about, except for someone compared my hair to his once, seems to be representing an underrepresented community and providing a voice for people who don't have a voice.
We've seen that over and over and over again. I don't even want you to comment on it. I just want to point out that he's there.
I don't want to comment on that. You're too good for this, Ben. Ben, don't drag yourself down to his level. You're a good one, Ben. We like you. More like you, Ben. Less like Al Sharpton. I like black people that come on the television and say things are fine. You're great.
And that's what he does. People can make up their own minds. Now,
people can make up their own minds. That's almost the slogan of Fox. Make up your own minds. Here's the facts in a balanced way. Make up your own minds. We've got no agenda.
Do we weigh in as the boy's father? And if it were my son, I probably would have said the same thing. But he's obviously talking through an emotional prism. His son is dead. He believes probably, I know he believes, that it was an injustice, that it was done for nothing. It was a murder. And many, many African Americans believe that without knowing the facts.
What fact can emerge? There's no fact that can emerge that makes that all right, that this kind of thing keeps happening. What's the motto of the police? Protect and serve. That relationship is completely broken down. I would never condemn police officers. I know the kind of background that most police officers come from. They come from the communities that they work in, but the ideology that they work for is an establishment ideology. They're not protecting and the people that they're protecting and serving are not the people on the streets of Ferguson. They're the people of Wall Street and the city and the government. They're not protecting the population.
Do we criticize them or do we remain silent?
No, I think we have to speak out and help people to understand that, yes, we feel their pain. But at the same time, we also need to recognize that police are individuals too. They have feelings also.
It's worth pointing out, I think, at this juncture, that if an unarmed policeman was shot by a black teenager, I can't imagine Fox News giving a voice to someone to go, you've got to remember that black teenagers are people too. Sure, this one's shot a cop. I think they'd be going for hell for leather with the narrative of that's unacceptable, this is the indication of a society in decline. What's odd, I think, is that the values that Fox purport of, like, you know, unity, this is America, this is a great country, they're constantly at odds with that because they really believe in oppression and exploitation and minimisation of the suffering of the people that need most support. Like, they can do compassion. Let's be compassionate towards the police. Yeah, it must be a lot of pressure to be in a police force in a divided community, and you're not paid enough money, and you feel that you're not supported, and there's a lot, you know, fragmentation, and it's difficult, and you had your own problems, and you're a human being. Of course that's true, but you can't apply that compassion with exclusivity. Either you apply that compassion entirely to a situation, like, for example, why are the people rioting, which they tried to extract compassion from a matter of moments ago, or you apply it with ubiquity.
Now, I was going to ask you about your presidential aspirations, Doctor, but I'm not going to do that because we don't have enough time tonight. But I want you to promise me you'll come back in a couple of weeks and tell me where you are on that scale, all right?
What's this weird flirting? What's going on? I'm going to ask you about your presidential aspirations. Wouldn't mind letting you in my White House. Wouldn't mind giving you a look around my Oval Office, if you know what I mean, Ben. There's all this weird interracial homoerotica going on Fox News. It's the complete opposite of what I've learned to expect from them, but still it's a step in the right direction.
Sounds like a good deal.
All right, Doctor.
It seems like the murder itself is one of those flashpoints that occurs every so often in an unequal society, and that the subsequent protests have been fraught with overly aggressive policing. It's difficult when you do something like this. You sort of think, oh God, that is hard. It's just this tragedy. People like us are having to overcome the murder of their son. I mean, that amount of grief and that amount of pain, particularly if it seems to be an emblem of a broader phenomena, is going to cause social unrest. It's like that. It's just a manifestation of an unexpressed unhappiness and pain. If you can't sustain that. This is what Fox News does. Fox News' essential agenda is, hello, this is Fox News. This is why things should stay exactly the same. But things can't stay the same. You can't keep a wet blanket over this degree of emotion, this degree of tension, this degree of pain and inequality. It's gonna flare up. That is some Trews.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.